The nature and philosophy of desire. Understanding the force that moves the human being. Desire is one of the most powerful force within human life. Every movement begins with a desire. Before the hand reaches, there is a desire to possess. Before the feet walk, there is a desire to go somewhere. Before words are spoken, there is a desire to communicate. Before a person builds, creates, pursues, conquers, renounces, loves, hates, seeks wealth, seeks knowledge, or seeks God, there is a desire. Desire is not merely a thought. Desire is thought infused with energy. A thought may pass through the mind and disappear, but when the mind attaches itself to a thought, when emotion gives it strength, when the intelligence accepts it as something worth pursuing, that thought becomes a desire. And desire, when repeatedly nourished, becomes intention. Intention becomes action. Action becomes habit. Habit becomes character. And character creates destiny. Therefore, to understand a person's life, we must look beyond their visible actions. We must ask, what desires are moving this person? Because the life we are living outwardly is often the harvest of desires we have been cultivating inwardly. 1. Desire is not the enemy. Many spiritual traditions speak about controlling desire, conquering desire, or becoming free from desire. But we must understand this carefully. The problem is not that we desire. The deeper question is, what are we desiring? And even more importantly, from whom are we desiring? The living being cannot exist without desiring. The soul is conscious, and consciousness naturally seeks relationship, experience, expression, and fulfillment. The soul is not an inert object. The soul is alive. Therefore, the soul naturally desires. The question is not whether desire should exist. The question is whether desire is flowing in its natural direction or whether it has become distorted. A river is not bad because it flows, but if the river is blocked, polluted, or forced into destructive channels, the problem is not the water itself. The problem is the direction. In the same way, desire is not inherently evil. Desire becomes destructive when the living beings forgets its true identity and tries to find unlimited satisfaction through limited material objects. The soul seeks eternal happiness, but the material world offers temporary objects. The soul seeks unlimited love, but the conditioned mind seeks temporary relationships based upon possession, expectation, and self-interest. The soul seeks permanence, but the material world is constantly changing. This creates a fundamental conflict. The eternal self is trying to become satisfied through temporary things. And because temporary things cannot provide eternal satisfaction, the mind continues searching. One object is obtained, then another is desired. One relationship is achieved, then another is sought. One achievement is accomplished, then the mind asks, what next? This is the restless nature of material desire. 2. The birth of desire. Desire begins with contact. The eye sees something, the ears hear something, the tongue tastes something, the nose smells something, the skin touches something, the mind receives impressions, the senses gather experiences, and then bring them before the mind. Then the mind begins to compare. This is pleasant, that is unpleasant. I want more of this, I want to avoid that. From this begins attraction and repulsion. The Bhagavad Gita describes a profound psychological process. When a person repeatedly contemplates the objects of the senses, attachment develops. From attachment, desire arises. When desire is obstructed, anger develops. From anger comes confusion. From confusion comes loss of memory. From loss of memory comes destruction of intelligence. And when intelligence is destroyed, one falls into ruin. This is not merely ancient philosophy. This is the psychology of everyday life. A person sees something, they think about it, they imagine having it, they begin to emotionally identify with it, they become attached to it, then they desire it. If they obtain it, they experience temporary pleasure. If they cannot obtain it, they experience frustration. If someone else possesses it, they may experience envy. If someone takes it away, they may experience anger. And slowly, something external begins to control the inner world. The object is outside, but the desire has entered the mind. The person is no longer simply seeing the object. The person is now carrying the object within their consciousness. This is why desire can imprison a person without chains. The body may be free, but the mind is bound. 3. The mind does not simply want, it creates stories. Desire is rarely satisfied with a simple thought. The mind creates an entire world around desire. Suppose a person desires wealth. The mind does not merely say, I want money. It begins to create images. When I have money, I will be respected. When I have money, I will be secure. When I have money, people will admire me. When I have money, I will finally be happy. The object is no longer simply money. The object has become a symbol of happiness, security, identity, and power. This is why people often suffer when they lose something. They are not only losing the object, they are losing the story they created around the object. A person may not actually desire a luxury car. They may desire what they believe the car will make them feel. They may desire status, recognition, admiration, security, freedom. The object becomes a vessel into which the mind pours its hopes. But no material object can carry the unlimited expectations of the soul. Therefore, even when the desire is fulfilled, the fulfillment is often incomplete. The person obtains what they wanted. For a short time, the mind becomes peaceful, but the peace was not truly produced by the object. The desire temporarily stopped. When desire stops, the mind experiences relief. The person then mistakenly concludes, the object made me happy, but often the truth is more subtle. The object did not give lasting happiness. The object temporarily silenced the agitation created by wanting. Then the mind begins wanting again. 4. The philosophy of the empty cup. Desire can fill the mind so completely that there is no room for wisdom. A person may say, I want to know the truth, but what they really want is confirmation of what they already believe. They may hear wisdom, but if the wisdom contradicts their desires, they reject it. This is why humility is so important. A mind full of conclusions cannot receive new understanding. A person may be sitting in front of knowledge, but inwardly they are saying, I already know. I already understand. I do not need this. And therefore, although the ears hear, the heart does not receive. Desire can make the mind selective. We hear what supports our desires. We ignore what challenges them. We defend what we want to be true, and we reject what threatens our attachments. This is one of the greatest dangers of desire. Desire that does not merely influence what we do, it influences what we are willing to see. A person may look directly at reality and still refuse to perceive it. Why? Because perception is often filtered through desire. We do not always see things as they are. We often see things as we want them to be. 5. Desire and the false ego. The deepest philosophy of desire requires us to understand the false ego. The false ego is the identification. I am this body. From this identification comes, I am this nationality. I am this social position. I am this profession. I am this body. I am the enjoyer. I am the controller. I am the owner. And once the living being accepts this identity, desire naturally flows. If I believe I am the body, then I seek bodily pleasure. If I believe I am my social position, then I seek recognition. If I believe I am the controller, then I become frustrated whenever life does not obey me. If I believe I am the owner, then I suffer when things are taken away. The false ego creates the idea, I am the center of existence. And from this idea arises the entire structure of material desire. I want, I need, I must have. People must treat me in a certain way. Life must unfold according to my plan. But the world does not revolve around the desires of one individual. Therefore, the false ego constantly experiences conflict. The world refuses to obey. People do not always behave as we expect. The body becomes old. Health changes. Wealth comes and goes. Relationships changes. Possession disappears. The mind wants permanence in a temporary world, and therefore it suffers. 6. The difference between need and desire. A person learns to distinguish between need and desire. The body has needs: food, water, rest, shelter, protection. The soul has deeper needs: love, meaning, truth, connection, spiritual knowledge. The problem begins when the mind transforms a simple need into unlimited desire. The body needs food, but the tongue may desire endless taste. The body needs shelter, but the ego may desire a palace. The body needs clothing, but the ego may desire status. The body needs companionship, but the mind may desire ownership and control over another person. A need has a natural limit. Desire often has no limit. This is why material consumption can become endless. The mind says, just a little more, then one more, then after this, I will be satisfied. But satisfaction does not come from quantity. If the inner condition is greed, no quantity will be sufficient. A person can have little and feel peaceful. Another can possess enormous wealth and still feel internally impoverished. Therefore, the real problem is not always what we possess. The deeper question is what possesses us. 7. Desire, attachment, and fear. Where there is strong attachment, there is fear. If I strongly desire something, I fear losing it. If I desire someone's approval, I fear their rejection. If I desire wealth, I fear poverty. If I desire status, I fear humiliation. If I desire control, I fear uncertainty. Therefore, desire and fear are often two sides of the same coin. Where there is attachment, fear follows. The more we depend upon temporary things for our happiness, the more vulnerable we become. A person may say, I cannot live without this person. I cannot be happy without this possession. I cannot be respected without this position. I cannot be secure without this wealth. And gradually the mind becomes enslaved. The object may be temporary, but the dependence becomes psychologically powerful. This is why spiritual wisdom teaches detachment. Detachment does not mean hatred. Detachment does not mean abandoning responsibility. Detachment means I can love without possessing. I can serve without demanding reward. I can use something without becoming its servant. I can accept what comes and remain steady when it goes. This is freedom. 8. Desire and the 3 modes of material nature. The Bhagavad Gita explains that material nature operates through 3 qualities or moods: Satyagun, goodness; Rajagun, passion; and Tamagun, ignorance. Desire is influenced by these moods. Desire in ignorance seeks destruction, intoxication, cruelty, laziness, and escape from responsibility. Desire in passion seeks achievement, power, recognition, possession, competition, and sensual pleasure. Desire in goodness seeks knowledge, discipline, virtue, peace, and self-improvement. But even goodness, although superior to passion and ignorance, remains within the material realm. The highest spiritual transformation occurs when desire becomes purified. The desire is no longer centered on what can I get, but can I give? Not how can I control, but how can I serve? Not how can I become the greatest, but how can I become an instrument of the divine? This is the transformation of desire. The materialist asks, how can the world serve me? The devotee asks, how can I serve the Supreme? This change appears simple, but it represents the revolution in consciousness. 9. The desire to enjoy versus the desire to serve. At the deepest level, the conditioned soul desires to become the enjoyer and controller. The living being sees the world and thinks, how can I enjoy this? How can I possess this? How can I use this? But the spiritual path gradually changes the center of consciousness. The soul begins to understand, I am not the supreme enjoyer. I am not the ultimate controller. I am not the independent owner of existence. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything. The living being is not the supreme proprietor. The living being is meant to live in harmony with the Supreme. This is the essence of bhakti. Bhakti does not mean that the soul becomes empty. Bhakti does not mean that the personality disappears. Bhakti means that the desires of the soul becomes purified. The desire to love becomes directed toward Krishna. The desire to serve becomes spiritualized. The desire for happiness becomes connected to the source of all happiness. And the soul begins to experience a higher taste. This is why the Bhagavad Gita teaches that when one experiences a higher taste, one naturally gives up the lower taste. A person may try to force themselves to stop desiring, but forced suppression really produces true freedom. The mind simply waits for an opportunity to return to the old object. Real purification comes when the heart discovers something higher. 10. Suppression is not purification. There is a great difference between suppressing desires and purifying desire. Suppression says, I want this. I must not want it, but I must not want it. The desire remains alive beneath the surface. Purification says, I understand this desire. I understand where it comes from. I understand its limitations. I am redirecting my energy towards something higher. Suppose a person desires recognition. Suppression says, I must not want recognition. Purification asks, why do I want recognition? Perhaps the person wants to feel valuable. The spiritual part then teaches, my true value does not depend upon the temporary opinions of others. I am an eternal spiritual being, part and parcel of the Supreme. The desire for recognition begins to lose its power. Suppose a person desires control. Suppression says, I should not want control. Purification asks, why do I want control? Perhaps the person fear uncertainty. Spiritual wisdom teaches, I am not the controller of all events. I can perform my duties sincerely while accepting the results as being under the higher arrangement. The heart becomes peaceful. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. 11. Desire and karma. Every desire has a direction, and every direction produces consequences. When desire leads to action, action creates reaction. This is karma. The subtle nature of karma is that desire itself leaves an impression upon consciousness. A person repeatedly desiring anger becomes more inclined towards anger. A person repeatedly desiring greed becomes more inclined toward greed. A person repeatedly desiring compassion becomes more inclined toward compassion. A person repeatedly desiring truth becomes more inclined towards truth. Every desire is like a seed. The mind is the soil. Attention is the water. Action is the sunlight. Repeated contemplation nourishes the seed. Eventually, the seed grows into behavior. This is why we must be careful about what we repeatedly meditate upon. The mind becomes shaped by what it repeatedly entertains. If we continually meditate upon fear, fear becomes familiar. If we continually meditate upon resentment, resentment becomes natural. If we continually meditate upon sensuality, the mind becomes increasingly attracted to sensual objects. If we continue meditate upon Krishna, the consciousness gradually becomes spiritualized. The mind is not neutral. It is being trained by whatever we repeatedly place before it. 12. The desire that never says enough. One of the greatest illusions of material desire is the belief that satisfaction is just one possession away. After I get this, I'll be happy. After I achieve this, I'll be peaceful. After I become successful, I will rest. But when the desired object arrives, the mind quickly adapts. What was once extraordinary becomes ordinary. The new possession becomes familiar. The mind begins searching again. This is called the cycle of desire. Wanting creates tension. Obtaining creates temporary relief. Familiarity removes the excitement. Then a new desire appears. The cycle repeats. This is why a person can spend an entire life chasing things and never truly arrive. They are always moving towards the next moment. But happiness is always postponed. One day, after this, when I have more, when I become someone, but the present moment is continuously sacrificed for a future that never fully arrives. Spiritual wisdom asks us to stop and examine this. What if happiness is not waiting at the end of the endless acquisition? What if peace begins when we understand the nature of desire? 13. The desire for God. There is a desire does not imprison the soul. There is a desire that liberates. This is the desire to do, love, and serve Krishna. Material desire says, I want Krishna's energy for my enjoyment. Spiritual desire say, I want to use everything in the service of Krishna. Material desire say, let me become the center. Spiritual desire says, let Krishna be the center. Material desires says, what can I get? Spiritual desire says, what can I offer? This is the essence of surrender. The spiritual path is not the destruction of desire. It is the restoration of the soul's original desire. The soul naturally desires love, but material life teaches us to seek love through possession. The soul naturally desires eternal relationship, but material life teaches us to seek permanent fulfillment from temporary relationships. The soul naturally desires service, but the false ego teaches us to demand that others serve us. The soul naturally desires connection with the Supreme, but the conditioned mind searches for satisfaction in the temporary. Therefore, spiritual life is the process of remembering who we are, remembering our relationship with Krishna, remembering that we are not the body, remembering that we are not the ultimate enjoyers, remembering that everything belongs to the Supreme. 14. The highest form of desire. The highest desire is not, Krishna, give me this. It is, Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is a profound transformation. The conditioned mind approaches God with a list of demands. Give me wealth, give me health, give me success, remove my problems, give me what I want. But pure devotion gradually changes the prayer. The devotee begins to say, whatever you give me, let me remember you. Whatever you take away, let me not forget you. Whatever situation I am placed in, let me serve you. Let my life be used for your purpose. This is the beginning of freedom, because the devotee no longer depends upon the temporary arrangement of life or spiritual identity. Success does not define the devotee. Failure does not destroy the devotee. Gain does not inflate the devotee. Loss does not completely break the devotee. Why? Because the center of life has shifted. The center is no longer the temporary self. The center is Krishna. 15. Desire and the power of the holy name. The mind has been conditioned by countless impressions. For years, perhaps for lifetimes, the consciousness has been trained to seek temporary pleasure. Therefore, simply telling the mind, stop desiring, is not enough. The mind needs a higher object. This is why the chanting of the holy name is so powerful. The transcendental sound vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is not merely a collection of ordinary sounds. It is a call to the Supreme. It is a call from the conditioned soul to its eternal source. The mind has been absorbed in countless temporary names, names connected with wealth, names connected with fame, names connected with enemies, names connected with possessions, names connected with the past, names connected with fear. The holy name redirects the mind. The sound vibration begins to cleanse the consciousness. The heart gradually becomes aware. I have been searching everywhere. I have been trying to satisfy myself through temporary things. But my true satisfaction lies in reconnecting with Krishna. The holy name is therefore not merely a religious practice. It is a spiritual reorientation of desires. The mind begins to hear a higher sound. And through that sound, the consciousness begins to remember its eternal relationship with the Supreme. 16. How to examine our own desires. A sincere person should regularly ask, what do I truly want? What am I thinking about when nobody is watching? What occupies my mind? What makes me angry? What do I fear losing? What do I envy? What do I repeatedly fantasize about? What do I believe will finally make me happy? These questions reveals the structure of desire. Our speech may say one thing, our desires may reveal another. A person may say, I want spiritual advancement, but if their mind is constantly absorbing money, recognition, revenge, sensuality, and competition, then their actual consciousness is being directed elsewhere. This is not a reason for despair. It is a reason for honesty. We cannot purify what we refuse to acknowledge. The first step is to see clearly. Yes, this desire exists within me. I have attachment here. I seek recognition. I become angry when I am not respected. I am afraid of losing control. I desire material pleasure. Honestly, is not spiritual failure. Honesty is the beginning of spiritual purification. The danger is not that we have weakness. The danger is that we refuse to see them. 17. The path of desire transformation. The spiritual path may be understood as a transformation of desire. At first, we may desire material things. Then we may desire material success as unspiritual benefits. Then we may desire freedom from suffering. Then we may desire knowledge. Then we may desire devotion. Finally, the heart desires only love and service. This transformation does not happen overnight. The mind has been conditioned for a long time. Therefore, spiritual life requires patience. We should not become discouraged because undesirable desires still appear. A thought may arise, a temptation may appear, and old attachment may return. This does not mean that spiritual life is failing. The question is, what do we do with the desire when it appears? Do we feed it? Do we meditate upon it? Do we act upon it? Or do we observe it, understand it, and redirect the mind? The mind may produce a desire, but we do not have to obey every desire. This is a great discovery. A desire can arise without becoming an action. An emotion can arise without becoming a decision. A thought can arise without becoming our identity. The spiritual practitioner learns to create space between impulse and action. In that space, intelligence becomes powerful. 18. The true meaning of freedom. Modern society often defines freedom as, I can do whatever I want. But if whatever I want controls me, am I truly free? If I cannot stop eating what harms me, am I free? If I cannot stop anger, am I free? If I cannot stop seeking approval, am I free? If I cannot stop thinking about someone who hurt me, am I free? If I cannot control my senses, am I free? Freedom is not the ability to obey every desire. Freedom is the ability to choose which desires deserve obedience. A person who is controlled by every impulse is not free. They are being controlled by their impulses. The truly free person can say, I see this desire. I understand it, but I do not have to serve it. This is mastery. The senses are not the master. The mind is not the master. The false ego is not the master. The soul, guided by spiritual intelligence and devotion to Krishna, becomes the true master of the lower impulses. 19. The final question. The deepest question of desire is this. What will I desire at the end of life? Because everything we practice desiring throughout life shapes the direction of consciousness. If the mind is absorbed in possessions, it will continue seeking possessions. If the mind is absorbed in resentment, it will continue carrying resentment. If the mind is absorbed in the body, it will fear the loss of the body. And if the mind is absorbed in Krishna, then the consciousness becomes spiritually directed. Therefore, spiritual life is not something to postpone until old age. The consciousness must be trained now. Every day, we are becoming what we repeatedly contemplate. Every day, we are planting seeds. Every thought is a seed. Every desire is a seed. Every action waters a seed. And eventually, we will live among the harvest of what we have cultivated. So we must ask ourselves, what am I planting in my consciousness? Am I planting greed, anger, envy, fear, pride? Or am I planting humility, compassion, truth, wisdom, devotion, or love for Krishna? Finally, the purification of desires. Desire is one of the greatest forces in human life. It can bind us to the temporary world. It can lead us back to the eternal. It can make us servants of the senses, or it can make us servants of the supreme. It can produce greed or generosity. It can produce hatred or compassion. It can produce bondage or devotion. The question is not whether we have desire. The question is, where is our desire taking us? The material world constantly tells us, desire more, acquire more, become more, control more, enjoy more. But spiritual wisdom asks a deeper question. After acquiring everything you desire, what will you have actually gained? If the heart remains empty, then external success cannot save us. If the mind remains restless, possessions cannot give us peace. If the soul remains disconnected from Krishna, no temporary achievement can provide eternal fulfillment. Therefore, the greatest transformation is not to destroy desire, it is to purify desire, to move from I want to enjoy everything to I want to serve. From I want to control everything to I want to surrender. From I want the world to revolve around me to I want my life to revolve around Krishna. And when desire is purified, the heart begins to experience something that material life can never permanently provide. Peace, meaning, love, and spiritual satisfaction. The soul finally begins to desire what it was always meant to desire, not merely the temporary things of this world, but the eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And perhaps the deepest prayer of the purified heart is simply this: my dear Krishna, I do not ask you to fulfill every desire I have. Please purify my desires until the only thing I truly desire is to remember you, love you, and serve you. Hare Krishna.